The conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia over Nagorno-Karabakh is deeply rooted in history. At its heart lies the mountainous region of Nagorno-Karabakh, a landlocked area in the South Caucasus. While internationally recognized as part of Azerbaijan, Nagorno-Karabakh has been primarily populated by ethnic Armenians for centuries. This demographic reality, combined with shifting borders and political turmoil, has created a volatile mix of competing claims and historical grievances. The roots of the conflict can be traced back to the early 20th century, during the twilight years of the Russian Empire. As the empire crumbled, both Armenians and Azerbaijanis aspired to establish their own independent states. In the chaos that ensued, Nagorno-Karabakh became a point of contention claimed by both sides. The region witnessed inter-ethnic violence and displacement, sowing the seeds of future conflict. In 1923, Nagorno-Karabakh, despite its Armenian majority, was designated as an autonomous oblast within the Soviet Republic of Azerbaijan. This decision, while intended to quell tensions, ultimately served to exacerbate them.
During the Soviet era, the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan over Nagorno-Karabakh was largely suppressed. The Soviet system, with its centralized control and emphasis on ethnic coexistence, kept a tight lid on nationalist sentiments. However, the underlying tensions remained, fueled by historical grievances and a lack of trust between the two communities. As the Soviet Union began to weaken in the 1980s, these suppressed tensions began to resurface. In 1988, the Nagorno-Karabakh legislature passed a resolution calling for the region's transfer from Azerbaijan to Armenia. This move was met with outrage in Azerbaijan, where it was seen as a threat to the country's territorial integrity. Large-scale protests erupted in both republics, often escalating into inter-ethnic violence. As Moscow's control waned, the situation in Nagorno-Karabakh spiraled into open conflict.
With the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh escalated into a full-blown war. Armenia and Azerbaijan, now independent, sought to assert their claims over the disputed region. The war, marked by brutality and ethnic cleansing, resulted in tens of thousands of casualties and the displacement of hundreds of thousands. Armenian forces, better equipped, gained the upper hand. They captured Nagorno-Karabakh and surrounding territories, creating a buffer zone. In 1994, a ceasefire agreement was signed. The agreement, brokered by Russia, ended large-scale fighting but didn't resolve political issues. Nagorno-Karabakh remained under Armenian control, and displaced populations couldn't return home.
Section 4. A stalemate and failed diplomacy. The ceasefire agreement of 1994 ushered in a period of uneasy peace, often referred to as a frozen conflict. Nagorno-Karabakh, now effectively an unrecognized republic supported by Armenia, remained outside Azerbaijan's control. Despite the ceasefire, tensions remained high, and sporadic outbreaks of violence continued along the line of contact. Negotiations under the auspices of the OSCE Minsk group made little progress. The two sides remained entrenched in their positions, unwilling to compromise on core issues such as the status of Nagorno-Karabakh and the return of displaced populations. The lack of a comprehensive peace agreement and the continued militarization of the region created a volatile and unpredictable environment.
Section 5. The 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh War. In September 2020, after nearly 3 decades of relative calm, the conflict in Nagorno-Karabakh reignited with a ferocity that shocked the world.
Azerbaijan, bolstered by its alliance with Turkey, launched a full-scale military offensive to retake the disputed region.
The 2020 war, fought with modern weaponry and sophisticated drones, proved far more devastating than the first. Azerbaijan's military, equipped with advanced Turkish and Israeli drones, gained air superiority and inflicted heavy losses on Armenian forces.
The fighting raged for 6 weeks, spreading beyond the immediate vicinity of Nagorno-Karabakh and raising fears of a wider regional conflict. The international community, caught off guard by the sudden escalation, struggled to contain the crisis. The agreement, signed in November 2020, ended the fighting but resulted in significant territorial gains for Azerbaijan.
Section 6. A Hope for Lasting Peace. The 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh War marked a turning point in the decades-long conflict. The war's outcome, with Azerbaijan's significant territorial gains and the deployment of Russian peacekeepers, has reshaped the political landscape of the South Caucasus. While the guns have fallen silent, the path towards lasting peace remains fraught with challenges. The recent conflict has left deep scars on both sides. The loss of life, destruction, and displacement have exacerbated existing grievances and created new ones. A lasting solution requires addressing the complex issues of Nagorno-Karabakh's status, the return of displaced populations, and the establishment of mechanisms for peaceful coexistence.